am thrilled to introduce you today to Heather Vickery. We are going to talk making the brave leap. What is the brave method and why does it matter? And the life-changing power of gratitude and so much more. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Lindsay.
Oh, you're such a fun start to my day. And we were talking off mic and I could talk to you for hours and this is going to feel way too short. So we'll go at it right now, but we're going to have you back on at some point.
I would love that. Thank you. I love it before we even start when you want to have me back. That's a win.
I do. I can already tell that we are kindred souls. We're going to connect. So let's just dive right in. How did you get to this point where your messaging is all about brave?
Yeah. It sounds like such a simple little question and it should have such a simple little answer, but it really doesn't have a simple answer. I got to this point by finding myself following the path that society guided me down, and eventually realizing that I hated my life. I hated myself. Every decision I made was fear-based. And it's fascinating, right? Because I had this beautiful, perfect American life. I had a nice husband. I had 4 perfect children. We had the biggest house in the neighborhood. He made $500,000 a year. It was great. Like, we should have been happy. I should have been happy. And I wasn't happy. Mm-hmm. And after lots of years of hard work and exploration, I realized that the core of that lack of happiness was, quite frankly, because I was married to the wrong gender. Surprise. After a decade of marriage and 4 kids, I came out literally and figuratively, and I essentially burned my life completely to the ground. I had a thriving business, which I'd had for years. I closed that and transitioned everything in my life. And the thing that made it work for me was acknowledging what I was afraid of, leaning into it, learning from it, and then thoughtfully and intentionally taking brave action. And so over years, that has morphed into Brave being my business and the Brave method, which is what my book is about. It's the core of my coaching, my speaking, my podcast, all of the things that I do. But I did this. So the Brave method is, they're the brave steps that I took to rebuild my life on my own terms.
Wow. We're terrified. Like, the word terrified comes to mind when all of this was going down. Were you having moments of just like, what am I doing? Was it coming across clear to you at the moment, or did it take a minute to get there?
What's fascinating is what am I doing was all before. When I had the moment, and I'll tell you, and I think you'll appreciate it, this epiphany moment. And it really was so visceral. Sitting at the breakfast table with my 4 daughters, and they were quite little at the time. The baby was a baby. And I just was so miserable. Literally every decision I made was fear-based. What would scare me less? What would cause less trauma? What would be the least difficult thing to do? And I would do that thing. And I looked across the table, and it was this beautiful sunny morning that they're all blondies. The sun was streaming in and their little heads were sparkling and they're chatting away. And I thought, what would I tell them to do? Yeah. If they came to me in this type of situation or in any type of situation, and they felt the way that I felt, what would I tell them to do? And I knew right then that I wouldn't say, well, you made your bed, now sleep in it. I wouldn't say, suck it up. I would say, baby girl, go out and own this world, because the world is waiting for you to show up as yourself. The world deserves that from you, and you deserve to take up that space. So I had that thought. And then the immediate follow-up thought was, oh no, if I want them to do that, I have to do that.
Yeah.
But it was like a light switch, because I thought, well, if that's why I have to do it, I can do that. I can do anything if it's to show them that they can do anything. Right. So all of that, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing that? All of that was before that moment. And after that moment, it was simply, how do I do this? Because I don't really believe that we don't know how. When we want to, we figure out how. And it was time to figure out how.
I think it's interesting because there's the want to and need to.
I talk about that in my book.
Yeah, do you?
I do.
will be getting your book, by the way, and
Thank
we're going to need to
you.
talk about that in a minute. But like, I always picture this need to is where you often see people make this drastic change because they need to. It is this, or there is something behind it that's really not good. And yours was a want to. And I agree with you, looking at our children or even a best friend or a parent or a sibling to go, it's so much easier to give the advice than to take it ourselves. But I commend you. That is
Oh,
amazing to
thank
say,
you.
I want to,
I
and
will.
darn.
I appreciate you saying that because it tells me that I am in fact practicing what I preach. That I do the things that I tell people to do, because I don't believe in need to, and I don't believe in should.
Mm.
Those are unmotivating words. They feel bad. They do not help us do the hard thing. They do not help us make brave choices. That doesn't mean there aren't things that must get done that we don't like. But my challenge to everyone is find the want behind the need. So
Yeah.
instead of saying, I need to because it's time, because it changes, say, I want to because I want to show my kids how, or because I want to feel good, or because I deserve to, whatever.
Yes.
Right? Find the want behind the need. That's what I talk about in the book. Find the want behind the need. Just some simple word changes like that completely alter the way you think and feel about what you're doing.
Yeah, you're giving permission, this beautiful permission to, you can do
Yeah.
it for yourself, you can do it for your family, your kids, but like at the end of the day, it's okay. Do it because it's going to
Why do you
make.
want to?
Yes. Let's
Yeah.
talk about F Fearless. Your book, why you chose the title, all of it.
Yes. So here is the book. And it is called, I spell it out, but with an asterisk, F Fearless, Making the Brave Leap. This book was in me for years. It's part memoir, part case studies. I call those Brave Spotlights, where I feature both guests from my podcast, The Brave Files, and also clients, and then what I call Brave Action. So you can get in and do it. So I break down the Brave method, which is my creative strategic approach to problem solving, dreaming, planning, designing, and building a life, and if you want it to, a business that you absolutely love. That is so important because we can do that now, right? Somehow everything has shifted. It's been happening for many years, but something about the pandemic, people were like, wait a minute, hold on. I want to love something.
Yeah.
And I want you to love you. Right. And I want you to love how you're spending your time, and I want you to love your family, and I want you to love your work. So the Brave method helps you do that. And the title, it is shocking. And I have gotten all sorts of hate comments about it, and that's fine because that means they're not my people. So I'm really okay with that.
Yeah.
The title is designed to get your attention because society forever and ever and ever has taught us that in order to be really successful or to be a great leader, we have to be fearless in all of our endeavors and all of our pursuits. And I call such total BS on that because we're not fearless as human beings. We have fear. Your fears are going to be different than mine. And sometimes I'm afraid of as many as different things in an hour in one day, right? It's not about erasing fear. It's about embracing fear.
Love it.
It's about learning what your fear is trying to tell you, dissecting it, and learning from it, and then leveraging that knowledge into what I call intentional bravery. Because when we choose bravely on purpose, we start to choose bigger, more wonderful things for ourselves. And we start to have way better, wonderful results and rewards and payoffs. And then my very favorite thing is it's contagious because people around you, your friends, your community, your coworkers, your clients, your kids, they see you taking these brave actions and they start to do the same. So I don't want you to be fearless. Get that out of your mind. Get rid of it. Instead, I want you to be brave. Choose bravely.
Yeah, thank you for stating the fact that it doesn't go away. Because I think we're in this society of we're very win and then. Like when I get this under control, then I'll do that. When I am to this point, when life gets less crazy, when I build up the courage. And you're just saying right now who you are, go. You have everything you already need to succeed.
You do. You do. You really do, folks. You have what you need. And maybe you just don't know where to start, and that's okay. And that's really where the Brave method can come in to help you. So Brave is an acronym. It stands for boundaries, what I call the 3 R's: reassessment, reframing, and resilience, action and accountability, vulnerability, and then expand and empower. And the first 4 steps, those are going to be interchangeable. You're going to use them in different ways at different times, and they are consistently revisitable. It isn't like you do them and you're done and you never have to do them again. You're going to, part of the 3 R's is reassessing, going over, doing them again and changing them. But the result of those first 4 letters is that last one. By doing this work, you will expand and empower yourself. And just a little note on that, folks, expansion and empowerment is inside work. Nobody can do that for you. And in the coaching industry, and I know, Lindsay, you probably hear this and see this all the time. And if you say this, then love me anyway. I get so frustrated when I hear people say in their sales pitches, I empower women to X. No, you don't. You inspire, you motivate, you coach, you train, you support, you do all of these amazing things. I do too. But the empowerment, folks do that for themselves by showing up, by asking for the support, by setting the boundaries, by getting clear about what they want, by taking brave action, by embracing their fears. We do that for ourselves. So don't let anybody try to sell you this notion that they're going to give you empowerment. That's yours. You create it.
Oh, that's so good. Yes. And here's the deal. You mentioned this is actionable steps that you keep repeating. And the beautiful thing is you're a coach, because I think that when we know we have to keep practicing something, we can get really excited about it. And then life takes over and it goes boop, boop, boop down to the bottom of the priority list. So having a coach like yourself, and you offer a membership, like tell us all these areas where you get to keep being that touch point and bumping all of that right back up to the top of the priority list.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I have a free community, which I invite all of you to come and hang out at. It's called Brave on Purpose. And it's just a community of people who are doing this thing that I talked about. They're getting comfortable with all of their feelings and emotions, and they're leveraging that fear and knowledge into making brave choices in all of the ways possible. So first, I go live there every Wednesday. We do a live show. It's on Facebook. Love it or hate it. That's where it is right now. But come hang out at Brave on Purpose and get to know a community of people who are out really living this day by day. And then the way that I support clients, I do that in a couple different ways. I do take just a couple, 2 or 3 one-on-one coaching clients a year, very minimal, has to be the right fit. But I do VIP days for folks who want to like really figure out and create a plan for one specific part of their life. What does this look like? One element of their business or one thing that they majorly want to change, whatever that could be. So we spend usually around 4 to 5 hours together. Most of the time it's virtual. It was already virtual before the pandemic. And we really make stuff happen in that time frame. You walk out with an actionable plan you can get going with right away. Because often it's almost, we have too many ideas. We know too many things. We don't know where to start. So we create that together. And then the other way I do that is through my membership program, which is currently called the Intentionally Brave Entrepreneurs. It may not be called that in the beginning of the year because they may be shifting away from just supporting entrepreneurs to supporting other people. But it is part coaching, mastermind, training, a huge accountability, support, and so many other wonderful things. But we only open the doors for that 3 times a year. Okay. Next time will be in February.
That's what I was going to ask. So February would be the next open. And again, don't take yourself off our list if you're not an entrepreneur. If this is all resonating for you, you might be helping Heather build what her next part of this should look like. So that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, okay. And I love that you do offer the free space to just come and and that's what I like about podcasting too. You can kind of be this fly on the wall for a minute and take it all in. And then start to gather that like, okay, this is a happy home for me. So very cool. Your book, where can people grab that at the moment?
So you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Bookshop. The easiest thing to do probably is to go to vickoryandco.com/ffearlessbook, and it'll show you all your purchasing options. There's a hardback right now, an ebook. And then I believe when this airs, you can pre-order the paperback, which is going to be out on December 9th. Yay.
So excited to get to celebrate with you today. Like, I just want to take this champagne moment together and go, this is huge. For anyone who's ever written a book, this is such a process. And you get to these moments where you're like, it's not going to happen. My books are never going to show up at my door. I'm never going to get to hold my baby. And your baby it exists and it's and congrats.
I keep petting it. One of my clients earlier today asked me a question about page 106 of my book. And I was like, I don't know what happens on page 106. He was like, well, just look it up. And I'm like, I don't have the book with me. He's like, if I did a whole book, I would have it with me 24/7. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
One in the car, one at the desk, one in the purse. Like, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is an endeavor and it's a lot of fun and is a labor of love. So any support you can give for it, I do think everyone will like it. I always say that the book will resonate with anyone as long as you like curse words, lesbians, and exclamation points. If you like those three things, I think you'll like this book.
You're golden. And brave. I just feel like all of that. And you just have such a beautiful, wonderful message. And like you said, you're living it yourself. So it makes you automatically somebody to follow, because if you were just preaching it and never did it, it would feel different. So again, I commend you. I think you're wonderful. I want to hear, you seem to also have a lot of passion behind gratitude. Like you really feel like that's some secret sauce to this. Can you talk on gratitude for a minute?
Yes, I can. I've written 2 books and gratitude journals as well back in 2019. As I was going through the transformation that I mentioned to you earlier, closing a business, getting a divorce, buying my own house for the first time, buying my own car for the first time in my adult life. It was insane. And I recognized that the one thing that was most supportive of me was finding gratitude. Like because everything sucked. It was all so hard. It was all so bad.
Mm-hmm.
What is good? What is in this for me? And I kind of thought I made it up. I'm like, well, oh, this is really working nicely for me. So I'm like, is that a thing? Is gratitude really a thing? So I started researching it. And of course it is a thing, folks. It's really a thing. And then I went and I got certified in positive psychology, and positive psychology is incredible. I want to be really clear. It's not toxic positivity. It doesn't mean you're happy at all costs, pretend nothing else is happening. It simply means look for the silver lining, look for what's working, choose our words, be thoughtful and intentional about that. And gratitude is the #1 scientifically proven way to increase overall happiness and well-being while decreasing stress, anxiety, and depression. It works. It doesn't mean sometimes you're not unhappy or sad or angry or frustrated or mad, but it does mean that you don't fall into the deep wells of those spaces, that you're able to sort of see light at the end of the tunnel, imagine hope, get yourself back out of a spot that feels hopeless. And so, I wrote, the first book is called Shift Your Focus. And it's a gratitude journal for adults. It's 100, there's a book in both of them. It's a very short, why gratitude, what my journey was to gratitude, the science behind gratitude, different ways to tap into it. And there are a lot of ways to tap into it. And then it's a guided journal, right? So guided questions, and then 100, I love this so much, 180 different unique prompts to help you connect with gratitude in a surprising way. So I just opened to whatever, page 16 and 17. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? Why are we grateful for that? What sounds are you grateful for today? Right? Just to connect with you in this unexpected way. And as soon as this book came out, I had all sorts of people saying, can I do this with my kids? And I said, well, you can, but it's really, I love quotes. There are all sorts of quotes from entrepreneurs, past and future, and leaders and things like that. And I'm like, let's make one for kids and families. So I did a focus group. I talked to a bunch of parents. I had them chat with their kids. What did their kids think gratitude was? How did it feel for them? How did they express it? So kids ages 2 to 18. And it was brilliant. I just happened to open to one of the quotes. Digby, age 7. Gratitude is being very, very kind. Love that. How often do we think that gratitude is being kind? It is. Right. So, and actually what was really wonderful about this, so many things, is one of the kids, one 11-year-old girl, said to her mom, well, I think being grateful and expressing gratitude are 2 different things. And of course they are. One is internal and one is external. And so I added a different prompt into the book. And And I got so much great feedback. I had one parent who at the time, I think her daughter was, I want to say this was 3 years ago. She was probably about 7 or 8. And they had this conversation. And then the next day, and the note is in the book. The next day, her parents and her brother found a note on the dining room table where she had drawn a picture and she had said why she was grateful for her parents and her brother. Right. So having these conversations really shifts the way we think and the way we feel. And so there are a lot of ways to do it. And gratitude will change your life. I mean, gratitude will change your life in every possible way. It will rewrite your brain. It will rewire you. It will connect you with your community. It will connect you with yourself, and it will help you build resiliency, which is a key indicator on whether or not you're going to be successful in your life.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I have to ask you this question because anybody, I know that our podcasters can't see you, but anybody watching YouTube right now can see you, and you exude happiness and the past. Heather, were you still externally, like, would somebody still feel like you were the same way? Were you kind of hiding?
I think so. I think they would say that. I am an optimist. I am in general a happy person. I can remember my therapist when I was going through my divorce, and my ex has struggled with mental wellness, and I can't even talk, and all sorts of things. mental health and wellness. Yeah. Blah. Sorry. And he kept saying, you need to get on medication. You need to get on medication. And my therapist said, Heather, you don't. Medication is great. If you need it, I have 2 children who take it. Like, if you need medication, by all means, it's wonderful. She said, you don't need medication. You're depressed because this is a depressing situation. You're not a depressed person. And there's a difference. So I am a positive thinker, happy, jovial person. But what I had started to do was cut people out of my life. I disconnected from my close friends. I disconnected from my parents and from my family because I didn't know who I was. And so I didn't know who to be for them. And so I just sort of isolated myself. And my mom really struggled when I came out, but she would tell you today, all these years later, that my coming out was the best thing that happened to her in her life.
She got to see like you and see you be happy and free. And
and that's all you want as a parent, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, thank you. I know I'm like digging in your personal past here, but I
ask away, friend. Ask away.
Yes. When you think about wrapping your arms around our listeners today, what's some of your common, and I always picture this as like how you send your kids out the door or how you send your clients out the door. What's some of your common, I need you to feel this to understand this type talk?
Wow.
I know
it's kind of two different questions for me, but I'll answer them both.
Okay.
The way that I send my children off most days is by reminding them that I'm proud of them, that I'm grateful that I get to be their mother, and that I hope something amazingly awesome happens, that they look for something amazingly awesome in their day.
Yeah.
So I would say that to all of you, like, it's there if you look for it.
Yeah.
And it may be little, it may surprise you. And if you aren't paying attention, you quite likely will miss it.
I agree.
So maybe they're not too different. Maybe that's it. Like, maybe that little add-on that I don't say to my kids, but I'm saying to all of you is there are 100 different ways to choose bravely every day. Looking for it, acknowledging it, stepping into it, and owning it is there for you if you want it, and it will change you in all the right ways.
Oh, I've had chills multiple times as you've been talking today. Thank you. Yes. And then again, for the listener going, I don't even know how to get there. That's your point of the book and the Brave method. You would help people get there. If somebody feels like, I see Heather here and I am way over here, it's the work. It's the day-to-day work, the method that will get you. Like, do you believe this? I just interviewed a psychologist and he was like, I've never met a lost cause. Do you believe that?
I do believe that. I absolutely believe that. But here's what I will tell you. So, are you a Ted Lasso fan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Heather, I don't watch TV. If you ask me, what are the shows that you've watched in the last year? I have 2. And
Ted Lasso
when
and
Ted
Schitt's Creek.
Lasso is one of them.
What's the other one?
And now I'm gonna forget. It's the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
I forget what it's called right now.
I don't know
Anyways,
that
I
one.
don't watch TV, but those are my two.
So it reminds me a little bit of Ted said, somebody said to Ted, do you believe in ghosts? And he said, I do. But the real question is, do the ghosts believe in themselves?
Oh,
And so I absolutely do not think there are lost causes, but folks, you cannot be helped and supported until you believe you're worthy of being helped and supported. You have to believe in you first. You don't have to know how to get there. You don't have to know what the first step is. You don't have to know anything other than, I think there's a way out of this, or I think there's a new option, or I'm worthy of this. Use that and get started. And then here's the secret tip. Quite frankly, if y'all want to know the secret tip, it doesn't matter where you start. And that's so much of what the book is. Break it down into small intentional steps and just freaking pick one. Doesn't matter. All that matters is you start. It doesn't matter where you start.
So I have a question for you. Have you experienced this client where they're willing to take the brave leap, but they really struggle with the trust factor of, like, they take the leap but aren't taking it all in? I don't know if that makes sense, but like putting that faith that somebody
People
else
who
can
don't go
actually...
all in. Yeah. Sure, I've had that client. And I find if I can be patient with them, and here's the trick, if they can be patient with them, we chip away slowly. This is not quick work. It's not overnight work. It's the long game work. And I was just talking to some other coaches that I know yesterday, and they're like, I want to come in, I want to solve problems, and I want to move on, and I want people to go on. And I said, that's not the work that I do. Right. The work that I do takes weeks, months, sometimes years. But with regular reassessment pieces, you look back and you go, oh, wow, I really have grown. I really have changed. I really have transformed in the last few weeks, months, years, even though we don't really feel it. And that's where those 3 R's come into place, right? Reassessment, reframing, resilience. Like, you have to look at it. You should be really thoughtful about it. So I have clients in my IBE program, my Intentionally Brave Entrepreneurs program, who feel like they haven't had the growth that they most want to have. But when we stop and list it out and show where they started and where they are, even from a confidence space, or the ability to talk about who they are, what they bring to the table, their ability to try new things, which they couldn't do before, it's spectacular. But you got to believe in yourself.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And spoiler alert, like me too, through coaching, it isn't a fast process, right? And even those other coaches that you're talking to are going, I want to come in, get her done, and go out. And I don't see that happening anywhere across the board. I don't care if it's financials, if it's health, if it's everywhere.
The approach is fascinating, right? Because then I think as the coach, you find yourself really impatient and angry with the client who doesn't perform exactly the way you want them to perform all the time. Now, listen, as a coach, we need to tell folks, we need to help folks stop making excuses. We need them to be honest and real with themselves, but still getting frustrated at the way somebody processes and that they're not doing it the way you want quick enough doesn't help you. And it doesn't help the client.
No, but I love that we're all speaking the same language, and you have a wonderful way of stating that. And you have to do, it all boils down to, you have to do the work with it. You're so good.
Nothing works unless you do.
Unless
it's literally the title of a chapter in my book. Nothing works unless you do. And that includes loving yourself and self-compassion. I call it the radicals: radical self-love, radical self-compassion, radical self-care. You have to do the work there also.
Right. And the coaching part of this, and again, I know you know this, I'm just saying it out loud for our listeners.
Say it out loud.
It's the beautiful thing about having somebody else on your journey is that we can bring you back to all of those wins, those champagne moments, those things that as the individual going through the journey, we can quickly go, yes, but like, yeah, that was good, but I'm still not where I need to be. Yeah. Where coach can sit you down and go, hey, this is what your journey has looked like. Yeah. And so I
Can
love.
I have to ask, may I use, and I'll give you credit for, I heard this on a podcast once and I loved it. I'll give you credit for it 3 times and then I'm just going to take credit for it. May I use champagne wins?
Yes, and I have to say, I took it too. I don't know, and we'll throw her name out there. I don't know if you've ever listened to Trish Blackwell. She's a confidence coach out there. She's wonderful.
But I love it because celebration is so important to me. There's a chapter on that in the book. It's a key component of the work I do. And on my podcast, The Brave Files, I ask every single guest how they celebrate at the end of every conversation, because to me, celebration is a lost art. And it's the more we celebrate, the more we have to celebrate. And also I really like champagne. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so great. I have to use
Yes.
that. I love it. And
Me too.
to me, celebration to me is a lot like choosing bravely. Like, what are your wins? One of my favorite, when you talk about accountability, I used to have a wins accountability partner. This was years ago. We met on Instagram through like some hashtag challenge or whatever, I don't know. And the challenge was to admit what we sucked at, because it's hard. But we actually found, my partner and I at the time, my accountability partner, it was very easy to say, I sucked at this today and I sucked at that and I failed at this. And I can own my failure. Like I fail all the time. It makes me better. It makes me stronger. What was hard was to say what we'd done well.
Yeah. Amen,
And so
sister.
we would meet once a week and we talked for 5 minutes, and there was no self-deprecation. There was no being hard on ourselves. So it required us to keep a list all week long of what the little wins were. So for example, I was going to post on Instagram 5 times a week, but I only posted 3 times. We can't say that. Instead, we would say, I posted on Instagram 3 times this week. Right. And you would list out all of those wins, and it was game changing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think that's a beautiful part of membership as well. And like the fact that you have a membership and people can exist with you all the time and with the other community members all the time, because then there's the constant reminder that we are shouting out what we are working on, what we're doing, our wins. And when that goes away, if they haven't been as smart as you were to get an actual wins accountability partner, which I'm loving, I'm going to maybe steal that from you, but
do it.
Yeah. But if we're not intentionally doing that, we're just with, quickly moving by our wins and on to the next. And I do feel like people feel that unless it's hard, that we shouldn't get the check mark in the box.
Not true.
I like to point out that sometimes, isn't it great when something just comes easy to us? Like, what if you just naturally ate small meals a day and multiple times a day? It just came easy to you. What if you just naturally sip on water all day? It's a win. Even though it's not hard, it's a win. Yeah.
Absolutely. You get to decide. If it feels like a win, it's a win.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get to
if
decide.
it's moving that needle forward to where you're trying to go.
Absolutely.
Check.
Yeah.
Okay. All the places, once again, that our listeners can find you.
Yeah. So my kids think I'm a celebrity because I'm easy to find if you put my name in Google.
You are a celebrity.
I don't have hard to tell them that it's just good SEO. So I'm at vickoryandco.com. That's my website. If you want to join the Brave on Purpose Collective, just search Brave on Purpose in Facebook. You'll find us. The Brave Files podcast can be found wherever you're listening to this podcast, anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. And if you want to grab a copy of the book, you can find it on Amazon or visit vickoryandco.com/ffearlessbook to see all of your purchasing options.
Yay. So excited. Congratulations again. So exciting.
Thank you so much. Thanks for celebrating with me. What a fun, unexpected surprise today.
Yeah, so good. And again, you're coming back, girl. This is not goodbye.
Yay. Let's do it.
All right. Cheers. We'll have champagne with each other next time.
I
we'll bring it on air.
Not at 10 a.m., but yes, let's do that.
Then we might have other things to talk about.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We'll chat soon.
Bye.